think it's coming. I think the chair in her submission said it was coming in the next 2 months.
Okay, thank you. Rebecca, please. Hello.
Kia ora. Kia ora tātou, ko Rebecca, taka ingoa. I whakapapa to Irish and Scottish heritage, and I am here as an individual who made an individual submission, and I'm going to talk to that first, and secondly I'm here to represent the Simeon Park Community Group, and I'll kind of talk to that in the second half. What I'm hearing from, and I've only been here a very short time, is a lot of passion for communities. And last night I was at the Outgrow the System movie, which Tony Moore put on from the council, which was a really excellent night. And one of the new ways for us to build a better society that's going to be more climate resilient and just better for everybody was for these things called participatory democracy. So I just wanted to lead into this by, listening to these people that are all passionate about their local communities and kind of wonder about where we can get some funding for more localised participation in democracy that's, led by informed, experts in their field. And I think you're doing a lot of that work, but I just would like to encourage more. I felt a responsibility to come today as an individual, just to talk about. Have been a climate activist. I work as a councillor, mainly under the ACC contract. So I'm passionate about the climate and abusive systems. And I wanted to come here and speak to some recent evidence that came out, and I thought it might connect with you because it's around the economy, and you've probably maybe already heard this news because it's pretty big news. It came out of the Potsdam Institute in Germany, who study the economic impacts of climate change. So their recent study, and I'm just going to quote that study, it came out on April the 17th this year, so you can look it up. Has anyone read it? I'm hoping some of you have at least. But the Potsdam Institute say this, and I'm going to quote them now. Strong income reductions are projected for the majority of regions in the world. These are caused by the impact of climate change on various aspects relevant for economic growth. Overall global annual damages are estimated to be at $38 trillion, accounting for weather extremes such as storms or wildfires could raise them further. Our analysis shows that climate change will cause massive economic damages within the next 25 years in almost all countries in the world. End quote. So by in the next 25 years, they're talking about damages of $38 trillion on the world economy. And the world economy currently ticks along at $100 trillion per year. So it's close to half of that. Those damages, they go on to say, are 6 times larger than the mitigation costs to limit warming to 2 degrees. So I guess it's pretty obvious that we need to really act with as much urgency as the council can muster to help our society transition to a world we've never seen before. Part of the solutions were in that movie last night, which Tony put and other people, I guess, put on, and it was a really exciting and inspiring movie. You will have heard these things before, but things like what I was just talking about, participatory democracy rates highly, compassion, limiting our consumption, social enterprises, donut economics, industries owned by workers who have a share in the company and a share of the profits. Things like that. One gentleman there stood up and he said, that sounds like a recession to me. And I think it was Paul Galziel, was it, from the Wellbeing Alliance, he said, yeah, well, It probably does look like that, but it can be a good thing. We're going to lose a lot of money, but we may come together and be a better community from it. Sadly, my passion for getting ahead with getting going on some of the things that I really got excited about, one thing that came to my mind was a locally owned and operated community bakery in Addington. But I was really saddened by Ellie Adams when she spoke. And one question came to her was about climate conversations and how do we have good climate conversations. And she suggested that we ensure the people we are talking, we must be sure we know the people we are talking to and what's in it for them, which seems strangely disconnected to what the other people were saying last night. And I thought she really missed the whole message of the evening, really, and of the movie, and the other speakers, because it's not really what is going to matter for the individual, it's what is going to matter for the common good. And of course that will look after the individual as well. But there's this big shift in the way we look at the world, which is required. Paul Dalziel from the Wellbeing Alliance suggested a spiritual transformation where humility, common good and basic human rights and dignity for all are taken care of. So as an individual, I wanted to come here and strongly encourage you to do all in your powers to help our local community prepare, adapt, and I think you are doing a lot of that. It feels really slow from my point of view, but I wanted to encourage you in that. You know, cycleways, trees and streets, we cannot delay this action anymore. In fact, you know those disaster movies that you see a lot on TV now? And in a lot of those disaster movies, we see politicians ignoring all the scientists and calling them quacks and putting them down and refusing to action. So I'm just saying, as politicians here in this room, don't be that person. Like, get on board with the stuff. You may not agree with the thing in entirety. You don't have to agree that the cycleways maybe are over-engineered. Maybe they are, but we just need to do it. We can't hold back on this work. And I really want to encourage you to start counting your emissions and coming and funding a plan to reduce emissions. I don't know that you have a plan to reduce emissions. You've got a target but not a plan. And I want you to include the emissions from cruise ships, and I want you to include aviation emissions. There were other things that I put in my submission, which you can read. So I'll just briefly talk as Simeon Park Community Group, as representing them. Our whole submission was around this sort of having more, power in our local area. So participatory democracy type things. We want locals to be paid to do the work of mowing local parks, for instance. There were lots of good ideas there, but a couple that we didn't include, which are really simple ask, I'm going to ask of you now, is for a tap to go into Simeon Park where we can access water for our trees and possibly a community garden, which is part of our plan in adapting to a new climate. So a tap from the mains into the park is one of our asks. That's it.
Okay. Pauline, please.
Thank you. That's lovely. Have you been to the local community board to request that they look into putting a tap in the park?
No, I haven't.
That would probably be the best place to go there. Oh, sorry, Mel. Yeah.
Did you say you're going to pay for it, Mel? Okay. Thank you very much for your wonderful submission.
Thank you.
Good on you. Okay.